Moments with God, a time of reflection for every day.
January 18th. Psalm of the Good Shepherd, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Psalm 23, 1 and 2.
The most well-known psalm, which has been set to music and has served as a source of comfort for both children and the elderly, is Psalm 23. The author was someone who was also a shepherd and cared for his flock in the rugged deserts of Judah. He was someone who knew very well the dangers when the wolf, the lion, and other wild beasts prowled after his sheep. He knew what it was like to lead them to pasture in search of good grazing land. He understood that without a shepherd, the sheep would perish from hunger, thirst, or attacks by wild animals. It was in his adulthood, when David had stopped working with the flocks and was king at his court, that he must have felt much more secure than in his youth tending the sheep. It was then that he composed Psalm 23, because he knew that his life was nothing, no matter how much he was king, unless God was his shepherd and cared for him. A sheep does not survive like other animals on its own, it needs care and attention. Human beings are the same, even if they don't recognize their situation. They are nothing without God who cares for them.
And Psalm 23 is an expression where human weakness is compensated for by the tender care of the shepherd. It shows how the shepherd watches over and leads his sheep through the greenest pastures, so they will not be afraid or suffer hunger. Even in the valleys of the shadow of death they are safe, because with his rod and staff the shepherd comforts them.
Like a refuge in the gray storm, and a shade in the heat of the day, God is the expression of love and care for every person. The downtrodden soul can understand in the verses of Psalm 23 that if God is their shepherd, they will lack nothing. Choosing God as our shepherd is a choice we must make. Many may seek something else as their shepherd: money, a profession, connections, friendships, and so on, and these things can fail at any moment. However, if God is our shepherd, if we choose to take refuge in him, and if he is our God and Lord, then God will provide for all our needs and, like a good shepherd, will be attentive to them.
As the shepherd leads his flock over rocky hills, through woods and deserted valleys, to grassy nooks by the riverbanks. As he watches over them in the mountains during lonely nights, protects them from thieves, and tenderly tends to the sick and weak, his life becomes one with that of his sheep. A strong bond of affection unites him to the objects of his care.
It is when we rebel against the shepherd that we become vulnerable to danger. The wolf stalks, and we fall like prey. Therefore, it is necessary to be under the care of Jesus the shepherd, so that Satan cannot harm us. If the Lord is our shepherd, we shall lack nothing. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this audio. We invite you to share with your contacts and visit the website BibleWell.com.